Matamu too.
Welcome back to Matamu Extra, and I really thank you guys for being with me so far in this season of the podcast. Like, we're down 7 episodes, 3 more to go, and I can assure you that the next 3 are gonna be amazing. So now, for this extra, I have just a few facts that really didn't make it into the episode on pumpkins. Now, if you haven't already watched that episode, please go to YouTube and search Matamu 2 and hit that like button on the video. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any others, and make sure that you turn on notifications. Ndosihate, we don't want you to miss anything that is coming up, and I'm assuring you, the next couple of episodes you're gonna really enjoy them. So now, let's start with something that I found very interesting. Many people think that pumpkins are vegetable, but they're actually fruits. Botanically, right? They are fruits because they have the seeds inside the plant. Pumpkins are actually fruit. And to even make it interesting, just like bananas, pumpkins are berries because they have pulp. They have they come from one single flower with one ovary, and the seeds are inside, right? So even tomatoes are berries, even if they're vegetables. But that's botany for you, right? It's very confusing. Now, pumpkins also very good for your eyes. The carotenoids, that's vitamin A, pigments, that's the orange in the pumpkin is actually very good for your eyes. So you need to eat some more pumpkins if you can't see. All right. Something else I found interesting is that in parts of Canada, some people race in boats made of giant pumpkins. Now, in Nova Scotia, in early October, a town called Windsor holds an annual water race called the Windsor Pumpkin Regatta. And for this, participants must only use giant pumpkins as flotation devices. The course is about a half a mile, that's 800 meters, on a lake, and it was founded in 1999. I don't know why they are in giant pumpkins. People are weird. People are just weird. Something else I also found very interesting is that bumblebees, that's the big ones, they don't like eating pumpkin pollen. Apparently it's because the texture of the pumpkin pollen is very spiny, so it's not very appetizing for them, and also has some properties that can actually harm bumblebees. That's large grains that can distort and damage the digestive tract of the bees. So you really can't talk about pumpkins, right, without talking about Cinderella. And we have a history on this podcast of just digging up random fairy tales. It's a history. But now let's talk about Cinderella. And this folk tale it has thousands of variants across the world. It's usually a story about a young woman who's living in really bad circumstances that are suddenly changed to remarkable fortune, and she becomes royalty via marriage. The story has been told over the years and over the ages, actually. Earliest version is told by a Greek geographer called Strabo, somewhere between 7 BC and AD 23. About a Greek slave girl who marries the king of Egypt, and it's usually considered to be the earliest known variant of the story. Now, the first widely known version that's known in the English-speaking world was actually published in French by Charles Perrault in 1697. Now, interestingly enough, this version is the version that brought us the word pumpkin, because before then it was known as the gros melon. And in that story by Charles Perrault, he actually called it a pumpkin. In English language folklore, Cinderella is the archetypal name, despite the story's title and main characters changing in different languages. So the word Cinderella has actually come to mean one whose attributes were unrecognized and especially achieves recognition or success after a period of obscurity and neglect. Now, let's go into the pumpkin bit of this thing. So, in the story, of course, where does it start? It starts with Cinderella being abandoned, or her parents pass away. She's an orphan, and her aunt takes her in, right? And or is it her stepmother? It really changes, right? So now, when the stepmother / aunt takes her in, she makes Cinderella do all of the menial chores that she doesn't want her own children to do. And the girl sleeps by the fire, so she's often covered in ashes. So that's why the name Cinderella or Cendrillon in the French story. So one day, the prince invites all the people in the land to a royal ball. And the stepsisters, of course, they go and say, "Oh, Cinderella, you'll never make it to the ball. You don't have anything to wear." So now, Cinderella, as the stepsister and stepmother, the stepsisters and stepmother go to the ball, Cinderella is crying, and her fairy godmother magically appears and immediately begins to transform Cinderella into, vision of beauty. And here comes the pumpkin. So she turns a pumpkin into a golden carriage, mice into horses, a rat into a coachman, and lizards into footmen. Then she makes Cinderella's rags into a beautiful jewel gown, complete with a delicate pair of glass slippers. And then she warns Cinderella to come back before midnight, because at midnight the spell will be broken. And of course, we know the story. Cinderella goes for the ball, comes back just in time, and then goes for a second ball the next evening. The prince, really, really likes her, and he takes charge, as princes do. He takes her, and they lose track of time, and she leaves just before midnight, losing one of her glass slippers on the palace steps, right? And the prince, runs after her, but he can't see her. Cinderella keeps the other slipper, which doesn't disappear because the spell is broken. And the prince's herald is sent out to make everybody try the slipper. And the slipper doesn't fit on anybody else's feet. When he arrives at Cinderella's home, the two stepsisters try to tell him, "No, it's me. But then they wouldn't let Cinderella try. But when Cinderella does try, it fits. And she actually produces the other slipper, as evidence. So now they're a pair. And, in one version of the story, Cinderella forgives her stepsisters and they get married off and they all live happily ever after. But in other versions of the story, actually, the stepsisters have their eyes pecked out by doves. It's so weird. I don't know why children's stories tend to be so morbid. But the pumpkin is a very strong part of that whole thing. And I think that's how most of us came to know pumpkins. Came to know that malengeni pumpkin. Right. And that is that for this episode of Matamu Extra. It's been really random. Don't worry, guys. Sometimes we have those days. And today was one of them. In the next episode, we are going to be learning a lot more about okra. You really need to watch out for this episode. It's going to be so interesting. You are going to really enjoy it. That will be coming out next Friday at 12 p.m. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. And you're also on YouTube, subscribed and with notifications on so that you don't miss when it drops. And until then, this is your boy Reumac telling you to enjoy your pumpkins. Thanks.